Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the research ship Pioneer, watching the stars through the main window. His crew had been mapping new space routes for 3 weeks now. The work was quiet and peaceful, just the way Jake liked it. "Captain," called out his communications officer, Kate Lewis. "I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." Jake walked over to her station. Kate had been with him for 5 years. She never called something strange unless it really was. "What do you see?" "Multiple ships coming our way. Really big ones. I count at least 50 vessels, maybe more." Kate's fingers moved quickly across her control panel. "Sir, these aren't human ships." Jake felt his stomach drop. First contact with alien ships this far from Earth meant trouble. "Battle stations. Send a message to Earth Command right away." The crew moved quickly to their positions. Jake had trained them well. Within minutes, the Pioneer was ready for whatever was coming. But as the alien ships got closer, Jake realized they were not ready at all. The alien fleet was huge. Each ship was 3 times bigger than Earth's largest battleship. They moved in perfect formation, like they had done this many times before. Jake counted over 100 ships now, all heading straight for human space. "Captain," Kate said with worry in her voice, "they're sending us a message. Put it on screen." The main display showed an alien face. The creature had blue skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the words came through the ship's translator system. "Human vessel, you will stop and prepare to be boarded. I am Admiral Zextar of the Velkari Empire. Your species will listen to what the Galactic Council has decided." Jake looked at his crew. They all seemed scared, but they stayed at their posts. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earthship Pioneer. We are on a peaceful research mission. What do you want?" Admiral Zextar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peaceful? Your kind knows nothing of peace. You spread across the galaxy like a disease. You take what you want and fight anyone who tries to stop you. The Council has had enough." "The Council?" Jake asked. "The Galactic Council rules this part of space. We have kept peace for 1,000 years, but now you humans threaten that peace. The Council has made its decision about your species." Jake's hands were sweating now. "What decision?" "You will return to your home world immediately. You will tell your leaders that humanity has 30 of your Earth days to accept our terms. If you refuse, your species will be removed from the galaxy." The alien's 4 eyes stared at Jake through the screen. "Your people will stop all expansion beyond your solar system. You will give up 80% of your military ships. You will accept Council oversight of your government. These are not requests, human. These are orders." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "And if we refuse? Then your cities will burn and your species will join the others who thought they could challenge the Council's will." The communication ended. Jake stared at the blank screen for a long moment. His crew waited for orders, but Jake didn't know what to say. How do you fight 100 ships when you only have one? "Kate, did you get that message sent to Earth?" "Yes, sir. Earth Command should receive it in about 6 hours." "Good. Plot a course for home, maximum speed." As the Pioneer turned toward Earth, Jake watched the alien fleet continue toward human colonies. He knew those ships carried enough firepower to destroy entire worlds, but he also knew something about humans that the aliens might not understand. Humans didn't give up easily. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Lisa Carter was in her office when the emergency call came. General Paul Hughes, the head of Earth Defense Command, rushed into the room with several other military leaders. "Madam President," General Hughes said, "we just received a priority message from Captain Morrison. We have a problem." Lisa listened to the recorded message 3 times. Each time, Admiral Zextar's threat sounded worse. When it finished, she looked around the room at her advisors. "How many ships do we have?" she asked. "About 300 combat vessels spread across all our colonies," General Hughes replied. "But if these aliens have the technology to build ships that large, our weapons might not be very effective." Dr. Amy Walsh, Earth's top scientist, spoke up. "We've been studying alien technology for 50 years, ever since first contact. These Council species are advanced, but they might have weaknesses we can exploit." "What kind of weaknesses?" Lisa asked. "They've been at peace for 1,000 years. That means they might not be good at actual fighting anymore. They probably rely on their technology to win battles, not on strategy or tactics." Lisa nodded. "What about their ultimatum?" 30 days to surrender or they destroy us." "It's not really a choice," General Hughes said. "If we give up our ships and let them control our government, we become slaves. If we fight, we might die, but at least we die free." Lisa stood up and walked to the window. She could see the lights of the city below. Millions of people going about their normal lives, not knowing that alien ships were heading their way. In 30 days, those people might be dead or enslaved. General Hughes, I want you to contact all our colony commanders. Tell them what's coming. Dr. Walsh, I need you to gather every piece of alien technology we have. If we're going to fight, we need every advantage we can get. Yes, Madam President. And General, there's something else. Start moving our families and non-essential personnel away from major military targets. If this council wants a fight, we'll give them one. But we need to protect as many people as possible. As her advisors left to carry out her orders, Lisa remained at the window. She thought about the alien admiral's words. He said humans spread across the galaxy like a disease. Maybe that was true. But diseases were hard to kill, and they had a way of adapting to survive. In the outer colonies, Lieutenant Ben Torres received the warning message at his post on New Texas. He read it twice, then called his squad together. Listen up, everyone. We just got word that alien ships are coming. Big ones. They want us to surrender or they'll destroy Earth. His soldiers looked at each other with worry. They were just a small garrison on a frontier world, far from Earth's main defenses. What are our orders, sir? Asked Sergeant Maria Gonzalez. Ben looked at the message again. Earth Command wants all colonies to prepare for possible attack. We're to defend our position and protect the civilian population. How many ships are coming? Maria asked. More than 100, maybe more. Each one bigger than anything we've ever built. The soldiers were quiet for a moment. Then Maria spoke again. Sir, my grandfather used to tell me stories about the old wars on Earth. He said the side with the most guns doesn't always win. Sometimes the side that wants it more finds a way. Ben nodded. Let's hope your grandfather was right, Sergeant. Because we're about to find out. As news of the alien ultimatum spread across human space, people reacted in different ways. Some were afraid. Some were angry. But most were determined. Humanity had come too far to give up now. The aliens wanted a fight, and they were about to learn something important about the human species. Humans don't surrender. 2 weeks had passed since Admiral Zextar's ultimatum. President Lisa Carter walked through the underground halls of the secret military base beneath the Rocky Mountains. General Paul Hughes and Dr. Amy Walsh followed close behind her. How long has this place existed? Lisa asked as they passed rooms filled with strange equipment and alien artifacts. Since 2340, Dr. Walsh replied. Right after we found the first crashed alien ship. We've been secretly studying their technology ever since. They stopped in front of a massive metal door. General Hughes entered a security code and the door slid open. Inside was the largest underground chamber Lisa had ever seen. Scientists and engineers worked at hundreds of stations, all focused on alien devices. Welcome to Project Midnight Sun, Dr. Walsh said. This is where we've been preparing for this day. Lisa stared in amazement. You knew this would happen? We hoped it wouldn't, General Hughes answered. But we planned for it anyway. Dr. Kevin Ross leads the project. He's been studying alien technology longer than anyone. Dr. Ross approached them. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. Madam President, I'm glad you're here. We have a lot to show you. He led them to a large screen showing technical diagrams. 50 years ago, we found our first alien wreck. Since then, we've collected pieces from dozens of different species. We've learned how their ships work, how their weapons function, and most importantly, how their computer systems operate. Can we build ships like theirs? Lisa asked. Better, Dr. Ross smiled. Their ships are controlled by artificial intelligence. Everything is automated, but our ships are controlled by human crews. We can adapt and change tactics in the middle of a fight. They can't, Dr. Walsh pointed to another display. We've also discovered something interesting about council species. They've been at peace so long that they've forgotten how to really fight. Their military tactics are over 300 years old. General Hughes activated another screen. We've been building our own ships using their technology. Hidden shipyards on Mars, Europa, and Titan. The Council thinks we only have 300 ships. We actually have over 800. Lisa felt hope for the first time in weeks. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Security, Dr. Ross explained. The fewer people who knew, the better. But now we need presidential authorization to move to the next phase. Which is, we let them think we're going to surrender. Then we hit them with everything we have. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was leading a secret mission near the edge of the solar system. His ship Pioneer had been equipped with new stealth technology. With him were engineer Sam Price and communications specialist Kate Lewis. "There it is," Sam said, pointing at the screen. "A dead Velkari battleship, just like the intelligence report said." The alien ship was huge and dark, floating alone in space. It had been damaged in some ancient battle and left adrift. "Any signs of life?" Jake asked. Kate checked her instruments. "Nothing. The ship's been dead for decades." "Good, Sam, take a team and get inside. We need their computer cores and weapon systems. Kate, monitor for any council ships in the area." Sam's team worked quickly. The inside of the alien ship was strange and cold. The hallways were too wide for humans, and the air had a sweet smell that made them dizzy, but they found what they were looking for. "Captain," Sam called over the radio, "you need to see this. The ship's computer system is still working, but it's running on automatic. No crew needed." Jake joined them in what looked like the ship's control room. Banks of alien computers lined the walls, all glowing softly in the darkness. "Look at this," Sam said, pointing at a display. "The ship's artificial intelligence is still active. It's been running the same patrol pattern for 40 years, even though there's no one here to give it orders." Kate plugged her equipment into the alien computer. "I'm downloading everything. Their navigation charts, weapon specifications, communication codes. This is incredible." "What's incredible about it?" Jake asked. "These aliens have no backup plans," Kate explained. "Their computers only know how to do exactly what they're programmed to do. If something unexpected happens, they can't adapt." Sam nodded. "It's like they've never had to think for themselves. Everything is automatic." Jake thought about this as they collected the alien technology. How do you fight an enemy that can't think? "You do something they don't expect," Kate said with a smile. Back on Mars, Commander Rick Stone watched as the final components were installed on humanity's secret weapon. The shipyard was built deep inside an old mining tunnel, hidden from any alien sensors. "How many ships do we have ready?" he asked his assistant. 47 hybrid battleships and 22 destroyers," came the reply, all equipped with human crews and alien weapon systems. Rick walked along the construction bay, admiring the sleek ships. They looked different from traditional human vessels. The alien technology made them faster and more powerful, but they were still designed for human crews. "Sir," called out Chief Engineer Tony Martinez, "the cloaking devices are working perfectly. Council sensors won't be able to detect us until we want them to." "Good. How long until the rest of the fleet is ready?" "Another week, sir." "We're building as fast as we can," Rick nodded. The plan was risky, but it might work. Let the Council think humans were weak and helpless. Then show them what humans could really do. On Europa, Sergeant Maria Gonzalez led her Special Forces team through training exercises. But these weren't ordinary exercises. They were practicing how to board and capture alien ships. "Remember," Maria told her soldiers, "alien ships are designed for alien crews. The hallways will be the wrong size. The controls will be in strange places and the gravity might be different. But the principles are the same. Get in fast, secure the bridge, and take control." Her team had been studying captured alien equipment for months. They knew how Council weapons worked and how to disable their computer systems. "Sergeant," asked Corporal Nina Brooks, "what if their computers fight back?" Maria smiled. Nina was their computer expert, the best hacker in the human military. "That's your job, Nina. You've been practicing on their systems for weeks."
"Can you handle it?"
"Yes, ma'am. Their security is good, but it's not designed to stop human hackers. We think differently than they do." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Ben Torres was preparing the defenses on New Texas when something strange happened. Council ships appeared at the edge of the system and began destroying human supply convoys. "They're not waiting for the deadline," Ben told his squad. "They're starting early." The alien ships moved slowly and methodically, destroying every human vessel they found. But they didn't attack the colonies directly. It was like they were sending a message. "What are our orders?" asked one of his soldiers. Ben watched as another human cargo ship exploded in the distance. "We observe and report. Earth Command needs to know what these aliens can do." But as he watched the systematic destruction, Ben realized something important. The alien ships attacked in a pattern. They followed rules, even in combat. That might be useful information. Back on Earth, President Lisa Carter met with her War Council one final time before making her decision. "The evidence is clear," General Hughes said. "The Council expects us to surrender because everyone else has. But we're not everyone else. Dr. Walsh added. Their technology is superior, but their tactics are predictable. They rely too much on their computers and not enough on actual thinking. Lisa looked around the room at her advisors. These people had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. Are we really going to fight a galactic empire? Madam President, Dr. Ross said quietly, we're going to do more than fight them. We're going to beat them. Because they made one crucial mistake. What mistake? They underestimated us. They think humans are just another primitive species. They don't understand that we've been fighting and adapting for thousands of years. That's what makes us dangerous. Lisa made her decision. General Hughes, activate all secret projects. Dr. Walsh, prepare our hidden fleets. It's time to show the Galactic Council what happens when they threaten humanity. As her advisors left to prepare for war, Lisa remained in her office. Tomorrow she would have to address the human people and tell them what was coming. Some would be afraid, but she knew that most would be ready to fight. The council thought they were dealing with a weak, primitive species. They were about to learn the truth about humanity. When humans were pushed into a corner, they didn't surrender. They got creative. President Lisa Carter stood before the cameras in the White House press room. Behind her were the flags of Earth and the United Nations. Her face looked tired, but her voice was steady. My fellow humans across all worlds and colonies, she began. Today I must speak to you about a difficult decision. After careful consideration, Earth has decided to accept the terms offered by the Galactic Council. Around the world and across human colonies, people watched in shock. Many had expected their president to choose war, not surrender. Effective immediately, Lisa continued, all human military vessels will report to designated surrender points. Our colonies will cease expansion activities. We will comply with all council demands to avoid the destruction of our worlds. Admiral Zextar watched the broadcast from his flagship as it approached Earth. The massive council fleet had taken position just outside the solar system. Around him, his officers seemed pleased. As expected, Admiral Zextar said to his second-in-command, humans are like all primitive species. When faced with superior force, they submit. Counselor Thren of the Axiom Collective nodded agreement. Their surrender message is being broadcast across the galaxy. Other species will see that resistance is pointless. How long until our fleet reaches Earth? Admiral Zextar asked. 6 days, Admiral. The humans are already moving their ships to the surrender points as ordered. Admiral Zextar felt satisfied. Another successful operation without a single shot fired. The Council's reputation for overwhelming force had won again. But if the Admiral could have seen what was really happening across human space, he would not have felt so confident. On the secret military base beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Paul Hughes coordinated the real plan. The room was filled with communication equipment and tactical displays showing the positions of ships throughout human territory. Report, he ordered. Colonel Danny Ford, the head of Special Operations, stepped forward. All hidden assets are in position, sir. The surrender is proceeding exactly as planned. What about the decoy ships? Every vessel reporting to the surrender points is unmanned and controlled by remote. Our real fleet remains hidden behind the asteroid belt and Jupiter's moons. General Hughes nodded. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. Status of the computer virus? Dr. Kevin Ross looked up from his workstation. Ready for deployment, sir. Corporal Brooks has tested it on captured council systems. It should spread through their network within minutes of activation. Corporal Nina Brooks, the small young woman who had become humanity's most dangerous cyber warrior, looked nervous, but determined. General, once I activate the virus, there's no going back. Their entire fleet will be affected. Good. What about our stealth ships? Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system. He was commanding the hidden fleet from his upgraded ship, now called the Valiant. All vessels are in position and maintaining radio silence. The Council fleet has no idea we're here. General Hughes looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed the Council fleet approaching Earth. Blue dots, invisible to alien sensors, showed human ships surrounding them on all sides. Remember, everyone, Hughes said. Timing is everything. We get one chance at this. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Ben Torres watched from New Texas as more human cargo ships moved toward the surrender points. But he noticed something the Council ships didn't. The cargo vessels were flying in specific patterns, using old navigation signals. Sergeant Gonzalez, he called to his second-in-command. Are you seeing this? Maria studied the ship movements through her binoculars. They're sending a message, sir. Using the old military code we learned in training, Ben decoded the signal. All units prepare for operation. Strike on signal? Well, I'll be damned. We're not surrendering at all. What are our orders, sir? Ben smiled for the first time in weeks. We wait for the signal. Then we hit every council ship in this system as hard as we can. Back on Mars, Commander Rick Stone made final preparations on the secret shipyard. His hidden fleet was ready for launch, but they had to wait for the perfect moment. Sir, called Chief Engineer Tony Martinez, all ships report ready. Crews are standing by. Rick looked at his fleet of hybrid human-alien warships. Each one was crewed by volunteers who knew they might not survive the coming battle. But every single person had chosen to fight rather than surrender. Remember, people, Rick announced over the communication system, we hit fast and hard. Use their own technology against them, and don't give them time to think. On Europa, Sergeant Maria Gonzalez led her Special Forces team toward their transport ships. Their mission was the most dangerous of all. They would board and capture council vessels during the battle. Everyone clear on the plan? Maria asked her team. Yes, ma'am, replied Corporal Nina Brooks. We get inside their ships, I hack their computer systems, and we turn their own weapons against them. That's right. These aliens have been at peace for 1,000 years. They won't expect boarding parties. Use that advantage. Dr. Amy Walsh worked frantically in her laboratory, making final adjustments to the weapons that would be used in the coming battle. She had discovered that council shields were designed to stop energy weapons, but they were weak against physical projectiles. It's like they forgot that wars could be fought with simple bullets and missiles, she told her assistant. Their technology is advanced, but it's also predictable. President Lisa Carter received hourly reports on the operation's progress. In public, she continued to act defeated and submissive. But in private, she was commanding one of the most complex military operations in human history. Status report. General, she requested during a secure communication. All pieces are in place, Madam President. The Council fleet will reach Earth orbit in 3 days. Admiral Zextar believes he's coming to accept our surrender. And our people. Are they ready? Yes, ma'am. Every human in the fleet knows what's at stake. They won't let us down, Lisa nodded. General, I want you to know that if this fails, the responsibility is mine. I gave the order. With respect, Madam President, if this fails, none of us will be alive to worry about responsibility. As the Council fleet approached Earth, Admiral Zextar prepared for the surrender ceremony. His ship's computer had already calculated the best orbital positions for accepting the human fleet's submission. Admiral, reported his communications officer, we're receiving final confirmation from human vessels. They're powering down weapons and shields as ordered. Excellent. Begin scanning their ships to confirm compliance. Sir, all human vessels show zero weapon activity. Their shields are down, and their engines are running at minimum power. Admiral Zextar allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The humans had submitted completely. Soon their aggressive expansion would be ended forever, and the galaxy would return to peaceful Council control. But the Admiral's scanners couldn't detect what was really happening. The human ships at the surrender points were empty shells, controlled by remote computers. The real human fleet was hidden, waiting and preparing to strike. Captain Jake Morrison floated in the shadow of a large asteroid, his ship's systems running silent. Around him, hundreds of other human vessels waited for the signal. Each crew had volunteered for what might be a suicide mission. All ships, this is command, came General Hughes's voice over the encrypted communication channel. Council fleet will be in position in 48 hours. Remember, we get one chance. Make it count, Jake looked at his crew. Sam Price, Kate Lewis, and dozens of others who had become like family to him. They had all chosen to fight rather than surrender. You know, Kate said quietly, a year ago I was just mapping star systems. Now I'm about to attack the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Sam laughed. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds kind of crazy. It is crazy, Jake replied. That's why it might work. The Council expects us to think like them, but we don't. We're human. Across human space, similar conversations were taking place on hundreds of ships, volunteers saying goodbye to peaceful lives and preparing to fight for their species' survival. Many would not survive the coming battle, but all of them had made the same choice. They would rather die free than live as slaves. The Council fleet continued its approach to Earth, confident in their victory. Admiral Zextar had conquered dozens of species using the same tactics. Overwhelming force, demands for surrender, then easy occupation. It had never failed. But Admiral Zextar had never fought humans before. He was about to learn that humanity had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war. And when humans were pushed to the edge, they didn't surrender. They fought back. Admiral Zextar stood on the bridge of his flagship as the massive Council fleet entered Earth's solar system. The planet looked small and blue through the main viewer, peaceful and defenseless. Around him, his officers prepared for the surrender ceremony. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "human vessels are in position at all designated surrender points. Their weapons are powered down and their shields are inactive." "Excellent. Begin the final phase. Send the signal for complete shutdown of Earth's defense systems." President Lisa Carter received the alien transmission in the underground command center. General Paul Hughes and Dr. Kevin Ross stood beside her as she prepared to give the final performance of her life. "This is it," she said quietly. "Once I give this order, there's no going back." She activated the communication system. "This is President Carter to all Earth Defense Command stations. As agreed with the Galactic Council, you will now shut down all defensive systems and prepare for occupation." Admiral Zextar watched his screens as Earth's orbital defense platforms powered down one by one. The planet's shield generators went offline. Even their communication satellites stopped transmitting. The humans were completely defenseless. "Perfect submission," he told Counselor Thren. "Begin moving the fleet into final positions. I want this surrender ceremony to be broadcast across the galaxy." But deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Hughes was coordinating something very different. "All units, this is command. Council fleet is now in the trap. Operation Strikeback is a go." Captain Jake Morrison received the signal aboard his hidden ship. Around him, the crew of the Valiant prepared for battle. "You heard the general, people. Time to show these aliens what humans can do." The first part of the plan activated immediately. Corporal Nina Brooks, working from a secure station on Earth, began uploading her computer virus into the Council's communication network. "Virus is active," she reported. "It's spreading through their fleet's computer systems now." The virus was designed specifically for Council technology. It would make their automated systems turn against each other, creating confusion and chaos in their perfectly ordered fleet. Admiral Zextar was preparing his surrender speech when alarms began sounding throughout his ship. "Report," he demanded. "Sir, our navigation computers are malfunctioning. They're showing conflicting readings." "What about weapons systems?" also affected, Admiral. "Our targeting computers are identifying our own ships as enemies." Before Admiral Zextar could respond, something impossible happened. The human ships that had been sitting defenseless at the surrender points suddenly exploded. But they weren't destroyed by Council weapons. They were destroying themselves. Those were decoys, Admiral Zextar realized with growing alarm. "Where are the real human ships?" He got his answer immediately. All around the Council fleet, space shimmered as hundreds of human vessels decloaked. They had been hiding behind asteroids, inside gas clouds, and in the shadows of planets. The humans had surrounded the entire Council fleet without being detected. Captain Jake Morrison smiled as his ship became visible to Council sensors. "All weapons fire at will. Hit them hard and fast." The Battle of Earth began with devastating human attacks from every direction. The Council ships were caught completely off guard. Their computer systems were fighting each other because of the virus, and enemy ships were attacking from positions where no ships should exist. Commander Rick Stone led his Mars fleet in a direct assault on the Council's command ships. The hybrid human-alien vessels moved faster and hit harder than anything the Council had ever seen. "Target their communication arrays first," Rick ordered. "If they can't coordinate, they can't fight effectively." The Council ships tried to return fire, but their targeting systems were compromised. Shots that should have hit human vessels instead struck other Council ships. The perfectly disciplined alien fleet began to fall apart. Admiral Zextar struggled to regain control as his flagship shook under human weapons fire. "All ships implement manual override of computer systems. Ignore automated targeting." But his crew had relied on computers for so long that they couldn't fight effectively without them. Officers struggled with manual controls they hadn't used in decades. The Council's technological advantage was becoming a weakness. On New Texas, Lieutenant Ben Torres led his small garrison in attacks against Council supply ships. Even though they were outnumbered, the humans used tactics the aliens couldn't predict. Hit them from behind while they're focused on the main battle. Ben ordered. Use the asteroids for cover, just like we practiced. Sergeant Maria Gonzalez and her Special Forces team achieved something even more remarkable. They boarded a Council battleship in the middle of the fight. Move fast, Maria told her team as they cut through the alien ship's hull. Nina, get to their computer core. Everyone else, secure the bridge. The Council crew had never faced boarding parties before. They didn't know how to fight soldiers inside their own ship. Within minutes, Corporal Nina Brooks had taken control of the battleship's computer systems. I'm in, she reported. Their security is designed to stop other computers, not human hackers. I'm turning their weapons on their own fleet. One by one, captured Council ships began firing on their former allies. The aliens couldn't understand how their own vessels were being turned against them. Dr. Amy Walsh's preparations proved crucial as human weapons tore through Council shields. The aliens had designed their defenses against energy weapons, but humans were using simple missiles and projectiles that the shields couldn't stop. Their technology is more advanced, General Hughes observed as he watched the battle, but they forgot the basics of warfare. Admiral Zextar's flagship was taking heavy damage. His bridge crew looked to him for orders, but the admiral was in shock. This wasn't how battles were supposed to work. The humans should have been defeated in minutes, not winning against superior force. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we've lost contact with 40% of our fleet. Human ships are using our own vessels against us. How is this possible? Admiral Zextar demanded. Our technology is superior. Our fleet is larger. We should be winning. Captain Jake Morrison provided the answer when his ship appeared directly in front of the Council flagship. His communication came through clearly on the alien ship's speakers. Admiral Zextar, this is Captain Morrison. You made two mistakes. First, you thought we would surrender like everyone else. Second, you forgot that technology doesn't win wars. People do. The human captain's ship fired directly into the Council flagship's bridge, but the shot was carefully aimed to disable, not destroy. Admiral Zextar found himself thrown to the deck as his ship's systems failed around him. Your fleet is beaten, Admiral, Morrison continued. Your computer systems are compromised, your ships are turning against each other, and your crew doesn't know how to fight without automation. Surrender now, and we'll accept your submission. Throughout the solar system, the battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. Council ships that had seemed invincible were being destroyed or captured. The perfect alien fleet was in complete chaos. Counselor Thren, who had come to study human society for rehabilitation, found himself a prisoner aboard Captain Morrison's ship. He stared in disbelief at the tactical displays showing the Council's defeat. This is impossible, he whispered. We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled space for 1,000 years. Captain Morrison looked at the alien diplomat with a mixture of pity and determination. That's your problem right there. You've been rulers for so long you forgot how to be fighters, but humans never forgot. We've been fighting for survival since we climbed down from the trees. The Battle of Earth was over in less than 6 hours. The Great Council fleet, which had come to accept humanity's surrender, was itself destroyed or captured. Admiral Zextar sat in a human prison cell, still unable to understand how his superior technology had been defeated. General Hughes surveyed the aftermath of the battle. Human casualties were surprisingly light, while Council losses were catastrophic. The secret preparations and careful planning had worked perfectly. Phase 1 complete, he reported to President Carter. The Council fleet is neutralized. But this is just the beginning, Lisa nodded. The Battle of Earth was won, but now came the hard part. The Council would send more fleets. Other alien species would have to choose sides. And humanity would have to prove that their victory wasn't just luck. General, prepare for Phase 2. It's time to take this fight to them. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans said they would strike back, they meant it, and they were just getting started. The news of humanity's victory at Earth spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. In the Council's capital city on the planet Axiom Prime, emergency sessions were being held in massive chambers filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. High Counselor Vextan of the ancient ethereal race called for order. His translucent form flickered with anger as he addressed the assembly. The impossible has happened. A primitive species has defeated our enforcement fleet. This cannot stand. Murmurs of disbelief and fear rippled through the chamber. For 1,000 years, no one had successfully resisted the Council's will. The very idea that humans could defeat their most powerful fleet seemed like madness. We must send the Granda, Fleet, declared war leader Korthak of the militant Saurian Empire. 10,000 ships will crush these humans once and for all. But High Counselor Vexdan was more cautious. First, we must understand how they won. Admiral Zextar's fleet was equipped with the finest technology in the galaxy. How did primitives, with crude weapons, defeat them? Meanwhile, in the captured Council flagship orbiting Earth, Admiral Zextar sat across from President Lisa Carter in what had once been his own conference room. The proud alien commander looked broken and confused. "I still do not understand," Admiral Zextar said in his mechanical translator voice. "Our ships were superior, our weapons more powerful, our technology more advanced. How did you win?" Lisa leaned forward. "That's exactly why you lost. You trusted your technology more than your people. We trusted our people more than our technology." Captain Jake Morrison entered the room carrying a data pad. "Madam President, we've finished analyzing their fleet records. What we found is interesting. Report, Captain. The Council hasn't fought a real war in over 300 years. Their crews are trained on simulations, not actual combat. When their computers failed, they didn't know what to do." Admiral Zextar's 4 eyes focused on the human captain. "You speak as if war is something to be proud of." "Not proud," Jake replied, "but experienced. Humans have been fighting each other and everything else for thousands of years. We know how to adapt when plans fail." Dr. Kevin Ross brought more disturbing news to the underground command center. "General Hughes, we've intercepted Council communications. They're mobilizing the Grand Fleet. Over 10,000 ships are heading toward human space." General Hughes studied the intelligence reports. "How long do we have?" 6 months, maybe 8. "But sir, even with our captured ships and new technology, we can't fight 10,000 vessels." Hughes nodded grimly. "Then we don't fight them. We turn them." The general's plan was ambitious beyond anything humanity had ever attempted. Instead of waiting for the Grand Fleet to arrive, human ships would travel to Council-controlled worlds and liberate the species living under alien rule. Commander Rick Stone received his orders while overseeing repairs to captured Council vessels. "Sir, you want us to attack their homeworlds?" "Not attack, Commander. Liberate. Dr. Walsh's research shows that dozens of species are held under Council control against their will. If we can free them, they might join our fight." The first target was a planet called Kepler-7, where the peaceful Verdani people had been under Council protection for 2 centuries. The Verdani were natural builders and engineers, but the Council had forbidden them from developing advanced technology. Captain Morrison led the Liberation Fleet in his upgraded ship, now renamed the Freedom. With him were 50 vessels, including several captured Council ships operated by human crews. When the human fleet arrived at Kepler-7, they found a single Council garrison ship in orbit. The alien commander sent the usual demand for surrender, but Jake had a different response. "Council vessel, this is Captain Morrison of the Human Liberation Fleet. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The Council ship, designed for intimidation rather than combat, was captured without a fight. Within hours, human forces had landed on Kepler-7 and made contact with the Verdani leadership. Elder Travani of the Verdani Council spoke through a translation device. "You are humans? The species that defeated the Great Fleet at Earth?" "That's right," Jake replied. "We're here to offer you a choice. The Council says you need their protection. We say you can protect yourselves." The Verdani leader's large eyes showed confusion. "But the Council has watched over us for 200 years. Without them, how would we survive?" "The same way you survived for thousands of years before they arrived, by being free." Jake showed the Verdani the captured Council records. The files revealed that the aliens had deliberately kept the Verdani from advancing, using their labor and resources while claiming to protect them. "Your people built the ships in the Council fleet," Jake explained. "Your engineers designed their cities, but they told you that you weren't smart enough to govern yourselves." Elder Travani studied the documents with growing anger. "These records show that we requested permission to explore space 50 years ago. The Council denied our request, claiming we were not ready." "Were you ready?" The Verdani leader's expression hardened. We had already designed the ships. The Council took our plans and built them in their own shipyards. Within days, the entire Verdani population had joined the Human Alliance. Their engineers began upgrading human ships with improvements the Council had never imagined. More importantly, they spread the word to other oppressed species throughout the galaxy. On the water world of Aquatica, the amphibious Nautari people received secret messages from the Verdani. The Nautari had been forced to provide food for the entire Council fleet, keeping their own people on minimal rations. When human ships arrived at Aquatica, they found the planet's population ready to rebel. The Council garrison fought briefly, then surrendered when their own supply ships joined the human fleet. "How many worlds are like this?" General Hughes asked Dr. Amy Walsh as reports came in from liberation fleets across the galaxy. According to captured Council records, at least 40 species are held under various forms of control. Most would join us if they believed we could protect them. "And can we?" Dr. Walsh smiled. "General, in 3 months we've gone from 300 ships to over 2,000. Every species we liberate adds their ships and technology to our alliance. The Council is still thinking in terms of their old empire. We're building something new." The success of the liberation fleets had an unexpected effect on the Council itself. Species that had been loyal members for centuries began questioning the system. On the industrial world of Mechanica, the robot building, construct people shut down production of Council warships. High Counselor Vextan faced growing rebellion within his own government. "The humans are like a virus," he declared in an emergency session. "They spread disorder wherever they go." But Counselor Thren, recently returned from Earth as part of a prisoner exchange, had a different perspective. "Perhaps, High Counselor, the disorder was already there. The humans simply showed other species that resistance was possible." "You sound as if you sympathize with them." "I spent time studying their culture. They have something we lost long ago. They believe that freedom is worth fighting for, even against impossible odds." The greatest shock came when the proud Saurian Empire, one of the Council's founding members, declared neutrality. War leader Korthak made the announcement himself. For too long, the Saurian people have followed the path of peace and order. But watching the humans fight has reminded us of something important. Warriors respect courage, not submission. The humans have shown courage. The Council has shown only fear. As the Grand Fleet finally approached human space, it was much smaller than originally planned. Entire battle groups had deserted to join the growing alliance. Ships built by liberated species turned their weapons on their former masters. Admiral Zextar, now working with Human Intelligence Services, provided crucial information about Council military doctrine. "Your liberation strategy is brilliant," he admitted to Captain Morrison. "The Council always believed that overwhelming force would prevent rebellion. They never prepared for a war of ideas." "What do you mean?" "You didn't just defeat our ships. You defeated our entire philosophy. The idea that some species are meant to rule while others serve. Once people stop believing that, the whole system falls apart." President Lisa Carter prepared to address not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The liberation had grown into something larger than anyone had imagined. "People of all worlds," she began the broadcast. 6 months ago, the Galactic Council demanded our surrender. They claimed that resistance was impossible, that their rule was inevitable. Today, 47 species have joined the Free Alliance. Hundreds of Council ships fly under the banner of liberation. The Council calls us primitives, barbarians, troublemakers. They're right about one thing. We are troublemakers. We trouble anyone who thinks they have the right to rule over others without consent. Across the galaxy, beings who had never imagined freedom was possible watched the human president's words. On 1,000 worlds, suppressed populations began planning their own rebellions. The Council's 1,000-year empire was crumbling, and it had taken less than a year for humans to bring it down. Not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through something much more dangerous. They had given the galaxy hope. The remains of the Council's Grand Fleet arrived at the edge of human space to find something they had never seen before. Instead of the primitive human worlds they expected to conquer, they faced a coalition of over 60 different species, all flying under the banner of the Free Alliance. High Admiral Mordak commanded what was left of the Council's forces from his massive dreadnought, the Star of Dominion. The ancient vessel had been the flagship of Council power for 500 years, but now it led a fleet barely half its original size. "Status report," Admiral Mordak demanded from his bridge crew. "Sir, we count approximately 3,000 Alliance ships arranged in defensive positions around the Sol system," his tactical officer reported. "But they're not all human vessels. We're seeing Verdani engineering ships, Nautari battlecruisers, and even some Saurian warships." Admiral Mordak studied the tactical display with growing concern. "How many species have joined this alliance?" "Intelligence reports indicate 62 different races, sir. Many of them are former Council members." The Admiral felt something he had never experienced before in his long career: doubt. The Council had ruled the galaxy through absolute certainty in their superiority. But looking at the diverse fleet opposing him, he wondered if their time was ending. On Earth, President Lisa Carter stood in the newly constructed Alliance Command Center. Representatives from dozens of species worked together, coordinating the defense of not just human space, but the principle of freedom itself. "Status of the Council fleet?" she asked General Hughes. "They're holding position at the system's edge. Our intelligence suggests they're trying to decide whether to attack or negotiate." Elder Travani of the Verdani spoke up. "President Carter, my people's long-range sensors detect something unusual. The Council fleet appears to be experiencing internal conflicts." Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Alliance Admiral, confirmed the report. "We're intercepting communications from Council ships. Some captains are refusing orders to attack civilian targets." This was the result of months of careful preparation. While the Alliance had been building their military strength, they had also been broadcasting messages throughout the galaxy. Not propaganda or threats, but something much more powerful: testimonies from liberated worlds. The Verdani had shared recordings of their technological achievements, hidden for centuries by Council restrictions. The Nautari had shown how their forced labor had kept Council worlds fed, while their own children starved. Dozens of other species had told similar stories. Even Council military personnel had seen these broadcasts. Many had begun questioning the system they served. Dr. Amy Walsh had spent months developing what she called the truth weapon. Instead of trying to destroy Council ships, the Alliance targeted their information systems, flooding them with evidence of their government's crimes. "It's working," she reported to the command staff. "We're detecting increased communication traffic between Council ships. Their crews are talking to each other, sharing doubts about their mission." Admiral Mordak faced the first mutiny in Council military history when Captain Velthera of the cruiser Righteous Fury refused to fire on civilian targets. "Admiral," she said over the communication system, "I have reviewed the intelligence files captured from liberated worlds. We are not protecting the galaxy, we are enslaving it. Captain Velthara, you will follow orders or face court-martial." "With respect, sir, I cannot follow orders that violate everything I swore to protect. The Council Charter speaks of peace and prosperity for all species. When did that become peace and prosperity for some at the expense of others?" Similar conversations were happening throughout the Council fleet. Ships that had arrived ready for battle now questioned their very purpose. The breaking point came when Councillor Thren himself broadcast a message to the Council fleet. The Axiom diplomat had spent months studying the Alliance worlds, and what he had learned changed everything. "Fellow servants of the Council," he began, "I have seen the worlds we claim to protect. I have seen the species we call primitive. What I found was not chaos and barbarism, but diversity and innovation beyond our imagining. The humans did not destroy our fleet through superior weapons. They defeated us through superior ideas. The idea that all beings deserve freedom. The idea that cooperation is stronger than domination. The idea that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker." Thren's broadcast reached not just the Council fleet, but every world in the galaxy. "I hereby renounce my position in the Galactic Council and request asylum with the Free Alliance. I call upon all loyal Council servants to examine their consciences and choose freedom over tyranny." The effect was immediate and devastating. Entire battle groups broke formation and requested permission to join the Alliance. Other ships simply powered down their weapons and refused to fight. Admiral Mordak watched his fleet disintegrate around him. 500 years of unchallenged authority were ending, and he was helpless to stop it. "Sir, his communications officer reported. We're receiving surrender offers from 40% of our remaining vessels. Another 30% are requesting permission to withdraw from the system. And the rest? They're asking for your orders, sir. Admiral Mordak looked at the tactical display. His once mighty Grand Fleet was now outnumbered 3-1 by former allies. But more importantly, he realized the Alliance was right about something crucial. Open a channel to the Alliance command, he ordered. President Carter received the communication request with surprise. The Council Admiral wants to talk? Yes, ma'am. He's requesting direct negotiation. Lisa nodded. Put him through. Admiral Mordak's image appeared on the main screen. The ancient alien looked tired and defeated, but also strangely relieved. President Carter, I am High Admiral Mordak of the Galactic Council Fleet. I have served the Council for over 200 years, believing I was bringing peace to the galaxy. And now I realize I was bringing something else entirely. Counselor Thren is correct. We have become the very thing we were created to prevent. We have become conquerors disguised as protectors. Lisa studied the alien's face carefully. What are you proposing, Admiral? I formally surrender the remaining Council fleet to the Free Alliance. But more than that, I request that the Alliance help us create something better, a government that serves all species equally, not just the powerful. The surrender of the Grand Fleet marked the end of the Galactic Council's 1,000-year rule. But it was also the beginning of something unprecedented in galactic history, a truly democratic government representing all species. The transition wasn't easy. Some Council loyalists refused to accept the new order and continued fighting from hidden bases. Some Alliance members wanted revenge against their former oppressors. It took patience and wisdom to forge a lasting peace. Admiral Jake Morrison found himself commanding not a human fleet, but a truly integrated force where humans, Verdani, Nautari, and even former Council species worked side by side. A year ago, I was just exploring empty space, he told his mixed species crew. Now we're exploring what it means to be free. Dr. Kevin Ross established the first galactic university on Earth, where beings from 100 different worlds came to study and share knowledge. The intellectual exchange produced technological advances that surpassed anything the Council had achieved in centuries. Diversity isn't just morally right, he explained to his students. It's practically superior. Different perspectives solve different problems. Sergeant Maria Gonzalez, now a colonel, trained the first integrated Alliance military forces. Former enemies learned to fight alongside each other in defense of freedom. The hardest part, she told her trainees, isn't learning new tactics, it's learning to trust people who used to be your enemies. But perhaps the most important change was happening on worlds throughout the galaxy. Species that had been held back for centuries were finally free to develop their full potential. Art, science, and culture flourished as never before. Elder Trevani summed up the transformation during the first Free Alliance assembly. For 1,000 years, the Council told us that peace required submission. The humans taught us something different. True peace requires justice, and justice requires freedom. President Carter, now serving as the first elected president of the Free Alliance, reflected on how much had changed. When the Council gave us 30 days to surrender, they thought they were ending a problem. Instead, they started a revolution. The revolution spread far beyond the original conflict. Trade routes that had been controlled by Council monopolies opened to all species. Worlds that had been strip-mined to feed Council worlds were restored by their inhabitants. Technologies that had been restricted to maintain control were shared freely, but the most important change was in how different species saw each other. The old system of superior and inferior races was replaced by mutual respect and cooperation. Former Admiral Zextar, now working as a teacher on Earth, expressed it best. Humans didn't defeat the Council through strength. They defeated us through hope. They showed the galaxy that things could be different. And once people believe change is possible, no force can stop them. The Galactic Council had ruled through fear and tradition. The Free Alliance governed through consent and cooperation. And while 5 years after the fall of the Galactic Council, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The Free Alliance now governed over 300 star systems, but governance was different from the old ways. Instead of commands from a distant capital, each world managed its own affairs while cooperating on matters affecting everyone. President Lisa Carter stood in her office on the Alliance capital station, New Hope, which orbited peacefully between Earth and Mars. Through her window, She could see ships from dozens of species docking and departing. Trade, exploration, and friendship had replaced conquest and control. "Madam President," her aide announced, "the anniversary celebration is ready to begin." Lisa nodded. 5 years ago, she had been preparing to surrender to alien conquerors. Today, she was presiding over the largest peaceful government in galactic history. The celebration took place in the Great Assembly Hall, where representatives from every Alliance world had gathered. The hall itself was a symbol of the new order. Instead of the imposing architecture favored by the old council, it was designed to make every species feel welcome. Adjustable seating, multiple atmospheric zones, and translation systems allowed beings of vastly different biologies to meet as equals. Admiral Jake Morrison, now serving as Alliance Defense Coordinator, began the ceremony by reading the names of those who had died in the struggle for freedom. The list was long, but much shorter than it would have been under the old system of oppression. "We remember them not as casualties of war," Jake said, "but as founders of peace. Their sacrifice gave the galaxy something it had never known: the freedom to choose our own destiny." Elder Travani of the Verdani spoke next, representing the liberated worlds. 5 years ago, my people were told we were not capable of self-governance. Today, Verdani engineers help design ships that explore the furthest reaches of space. We have proven that freedom unleashes potential that oppression could never imagine. The celebration included displays of achievements from across the Alliance. The Nautari had transformed barren worlds into agricultural paradises. The Saurians had established the first interspecies military academy. Even former council species had contributed, sharing technologies they had previously hoarded. Dr. Amy Walsh presented the scientific achievements of the past 5 years. Under the council, scientific research was restricted to maintain stability. Under the Alliance, we've made more discoveries in 5 years than the previous 50. When you free minds to think, they accomplish miracles. But the most moving speech came from someone unexpected: former Admiral Zextar, the alien commander who had demanded Earth's surrender 5 years earlier. "I stand before you as living proof that people can change," the Velkari said through his translator. 5 years ago, I believed might made right. I believed some species were meant to rule while others served. The humans taught me I was wrong. They didn't defeat us through superior weapons or tactics, though they had both. They defeated us through superior ideas. The idea that all beings deserve dignity. The idea that cooperation achieves more than domination. The idea that diversity makes us stronger. Zextar paused, his 4 eyes looking around the diverse assembly. "I have spent these 5 years teaching young people from many worlds. I tell them that the greatest victory isn't winning a battle. The greatest victory is winning an enemy's heart, turning hatred into friendship." The celebration continued with cultural presentations from dozens of worlds. Music, art, and literature from species that had been silenced for centuries now flourished. The galaxy had become a richer, more beautiful place simply by allowing everyone to contribute their unique gifts. But perhaps the most significant part of the ceremony was the announcement of new exploration missions. The Alliance had decided to push beyond the boundaries of known space, seeking new worlds and new species to welcome into their community. Captain Sam Price, who had served with Jake Morrison during the original rebellion, now commanded the exploration vessel New Horizons. "Our mission is simple," he told the assembly. "We go in peace to meet new friends, not to conquer new subjects." Behind the celebrations, serious work continued. The Alliance faced real challenges. Some former Council loyalists still operated from hidden bases, conducting terrorist attacks against Alliance targets. Economic inequality between worlds needed to be addressed. Environmental damage from centuries of exploitation required massive restoration efforts. General Paul Hughes, now Alliance Security Chief, provided updates on the ongoing security situation. "We've identified and neutralized 12 terrorist cells this year. But I want to emphasize that we're not fighting a war against the past. We're protecting a future where everyone can live in peace." The Alliance had learned from humanity's example that security came not from domination, but from justice. Instead of crushing opposition, they tried to address the legitimate concerns behind it. Former Council worlds weren't punished for their past. They were invited to help build a better future. Dr. Kevin Ross had established research stations throughout Alliance space, focusing not on military applications but on improving life for all species. Medical research shared freely had eliminated diseases that had plagued some worlds for millennia. Agricultural advances had ended hunger on dozens of planets. The old council hoarded knowledge to maintain power, Ross explained to a group of young scientists from various worlds. We share knowledge to increase prosperity. When everyone benefits from discovery, everyone contributes to progress. Sergeant Maria Gonzalez, now a colonel, had created training programs that turned former enemies into allies. Saurian warriors trained alongside human marines. Velkari strategists worked with Verdani engineers. The result was a military force unlike any in galactic history. We don't train soldiers to conquer, she told her mixed species recruits. We train protectors to preserve freedom. The strongest military isn't the one that wins battles, but the one that prevents wars. The celebration concluded with President Carter's address to the galaxy. She spoke not just to Alliance members, but to all the worlds watching, including those still under authoritarian rule in distant regions. 5 years ago, a galactic empire tried to break the human spirit. They succeeded in something they never intended. They showed us that the galaxy needed something better than empire. They showed us that freedom was worth fighting for. Today, the Free Alliance proves that diverse species can work together as equals. We prove that democracy can function on a galactic scale. We prove that the choice isn't between chaos and tyranny, but between freedom and oppression. Lisa looked directly into the broadcast cameras. To any world still living under authoritarian rule, we offer this message: you are not alone. Freedom is contagious. Once one species breaks free, others follow. The Alliance stands ready to help any world that chooses the path of liberty. The broadcast reached the furthest corners of the galaxy. In hidden bunkers on oppressed worlds, resistance groups took hope from the Alliance's example. On prosperous worlds enjoying Alliance membership, citizens celebrated their good fortune. Even in the remnants of authoritarian governments, some leaders began wondering if cooperation might serve their people better than control. As the celebration ended, President Carter met privately with her closest advisors. The public face of the Alliance was optimistic and confident, but the leadership understood the challenges ahead. We've accomplished something amazing, she said to the small group, but maintaining freedom is harder than achieving it. Every generation will face the choice between liberty and security, between cooperation and control. Admiral Morrison nodded. The old council lasted 1,000 years because they never allowed that choice. We have to trust that people will keep choosing freedom, even when it's difficult. They will, said Elder Trevani, because they've tasted what freedom means. No one willingly returns to slavery once they've experienced dignity. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent message from the exploration fleet. Captain Price's excited voice came through the communication system. Alliance Command, this is New Horizons. We've made contact with a previously unknown civilization. They call themselves the Harmony Collective, and they've been watching our conflict with great interest. They want to meet with Alliance leadership. President Carter smiled. The galaxy kept getting bigger and humanity's legacy kept spreading. What had started as Earth's desperate fight for survival had become a beacon of hope for species they hadn't even known existed. Captain Price, arrange for first contact protocols and invite them to visit Alliance space. It's time the galaxy met some new friends. As reports came in about the new contact, Carter reflected on humanity's journey. 5 years ago, humans had been a small, threatened species facing extinction. Today, they were part of something vast and wonderful. A community of free beings working together to explore the universe. The Galactic Council had never expected Earth to strike back. They had expected submission, compliance, and eventual absorption into their empire. Instead, they had encountered something they couldn't understand, a species that valued freedom more than safety, diversity more than uniformity, hope more than certainty. That encounter had changed everything. Not just for humans, but for the entire galaxy. The revolution that began with Earth's refusal to surrender